Hi everyone and welcome to another Mixed Media Tuesday where I will be creating an art journal page using my very own design. This is one of the dies that I have designed for Spellbinders. The release was yesterday and I did upload a video sharing all the products from my collection, but for today I'm focusing on the painted blooms. This is the die set that gives you a really big paintbrush that you can decorate with leaves and flowers like so. Or you can definitely create bristles. For today's project I will be combining bristles and leaves and flowers for a really fun design, and notice that all these dies not only cut but they also emboss lovely details if you can see the handle. Just because this is a big focal point, it is perfect for art journaling. However, in this collection I did design one more that is also perfect for art journaling. This is the Painter's palette, and you can see the big palette that you get, great focal point that you can combine with the paint blobs, with the brush as well as the paint tube. And of course I will be sharing inspiration on an art journal using this set in the future. Before I go ahead and show you how you can put the brush together with the bristles, let me tell you a little bit about this focal point. This is quite big. So if you place the bristles on top of the handle, you will find that it is about 6.5 long. And if you use the leaves instead of the bristles, here is an example here, it is going to be even bigger since those leaves are quite long. That makes a great focal point for any art journal page size, as well as for canvases. I'm going to bring in some of my most used journals so you can see and compare the size. So this is perfect for the Dylusions journal, it really makes a statement. Then this is the 8x8 one that I normally use, this is the one that I like to stick pages on top. Again, it is great for this size of journal. And actually this is the art journal that I will be working on today. Here is the Dina Weekly one, this is a long and big one, however it really makes a statement on this big page. And finally this is the medium-sized art journal by Art by Marlene, and you can see it works perfectly on this one as well. However, if you are not into big focal points and you would rather work with smaller ones, I've got you covered. I have 3 more designs of those brushes in a smaller size. These work perfectly for card making, but you can definitely work with them on an art journal. You can get different handles, you can get different embellishments. You will find the links below to check them out. And since the focus of my project today is the paintbrush that I designed, I'm starting with the focal point. I did all the die cutting and now I'm coloring the handle. I'm using Distress Oxide and a brush to blend color. I started from a lighter color and I'm gradually going to darker browns. You can definitely start die cutting from a colored cardstock, so you don't have to add any color on top. However, I like this blended look. You can also work with any one of your favorite coloring mediums, and of course depending on the technique that you choose to color this handle, you can bring out that detail, embossed detail that there is on the handle from die cutting it. So the colors I did use here was Antique Linen, which was the lighter, then I went with Vintage Photo, and now for the edges I'm going with Ground Espresso, I believe. And I'm keeping that only on the edges, which is going to give a more rounded and dimensional look on my handle. I'm going to stick the ferrule on top, and I did die cut that from silver cardstock. And hopefully you can see here the embossed detail that brings it more to life. There is one more part for the brush handle that you can stick at the bottom just to add a secondary color on your brush. I'm not going to use it yet since I don't know exactly how this page is going to evolve and I don't know what I should color this part, so I'm going to leave it for the end. I am now going to put together the bristles, and you can see that I used one die to cut out 6 of them. You actually need 3 to create the row all the way from one side to the other of this paintbrush. However, since I like things to be quite dimensional and fluffy, I did go ahead and added a second line. And of course, as you add the second layer, make sure that you don't align those die cuts perfectly. You want them to fall in between the gaps to make it look fluffier. So you will see that I'm going to turn them around. This way I know that they are not going to fall exactly one on top of the other, since the design isn't symmetrical. And of course you can go ahead and make it even fluffier by adding a third layer. I'm going to stop here. I'm absolutely in love with this brush as a focal point, and I know there are so many different ways that you can use it on your projects, and I'm definitely going to share even more inspiration using this brush in my upcoming videos. Now I will start working on my background. This is Salvaged Patina Distress Stain. It's not the oxide, so it's going to stay nice and bright. I'm adding just this one color on my background. I want this background to be very subtle, and I didn't even color the whole thing. I'm applying a little bit of water to help it blend better, and now I'm going to use my heat gun and make sure that this is completely dry. By the way, I'm working on watercolor paper. Once that layer was dry, I placed on top this huge stencil. This is the Jumbo ABCs by AALL Create, and all I did was spray again using the same ink. I didn't switch to any darker color, so the whole thing that you see here on my background is made using just one color. However, I do have variation, I do have lighter and darker areas, but at the same time it is so subtle. I use the dies from the set to cut out all those leaves, and now I want to see the quickest way to add shadow on a leaf. Use your sprays, add the first layer all over, and then with the second layer just add color only at the base of your leaves. Works perfectly, super quickly. If you're wondering, the lighter green was fresh lime and the darker one was cut grass ink sprays by Dylusions. Now I'm coloring the flowers. Again, I used dyes from the same set. I went with pink, yellow and orange for my flowers, and there are two sizes of these flowers included in the set. However, I used only the smaller layer. I am now going to stick one on top of the other, and you can see up at the top of the screen I do have a couple of more leaves, foliage, but I ended up not using them because I felt that my composition was already very busy. I'm sticking the layers one on top of the other, making sure that they don't overlap. And it is really amazing to me how much color variation I got for these flowers, although I used just one spray for each of them. So now it's time to place everything down. I'm going to stick the brush, but I'm not going to stick down the bristles. This way I will get the opportunity to tuck underneath other elements to embellish it. Now I'm going to put on some music and let you see how I created the whole composition just by using glue and tagging all the elements here and there, and I will catch you back once everything is down. And here I'm doing my best to somehow find a way to work with these foliage, but at the end I decided not to use them on my composition. I also die cut 3 little circles. These are dies that are included in the set. I used the smaller of them to add the center for my flowers. Now, since I have all that beautiful color on my page, I don't want to add anything extra on the paintbrush at the bottom. So I'm only inking up lightly that piece with anti-linen, and I'm going to stick it down there. Very neutral, it's not going to steal the thunder of all those beautiful leaves and flowers which are so vibrant. And let's do some stamping on the background, just a few details here and there. I'm using white pigment ink, so this is going to add just a touch of interest on the background. I'm also stamping on top of the leaves as well as on top of the brush and the flowers. It's not going to stay as bright white as you see it at the moment. It's going to slightly blend in with the rest of the colors. And you can definitely stop here, you don't have to do the next step. Here I'm just stamping a little bit with black. I felt that the background was too neutral and I wanted to add something extra on that. However, this is totally optional. I was really brave, I have to say, on this step, and I was having a big fight with myself whether I want to do it or not. But at the end you will see that it's going to work lovely, since I will add some black letters, and having that black detail on the background, it kind of brings everything together. Now I did add some shading at the center of my flowers, and now for my favorite technique, I'm adding some highlights on all the die cuts. I decided for this specific design not to use any black pen to outline the cutouts, but you can definitely go ahead and do that. I felt that I was already brave enough with black to stamp at the background, and I didn't want to add any extra black details on my composition. But of course I do have to add some white splatters. I'm using acrylic paint in a form of a spray. This is by Dina Weekly. And now let's add the quote. This is the stamp set that I designed for my collection. It comes with wonderful sentiments. However, this was mainly designed for card making, and I find that it is quite small. Although I think that it could definitely work, I like my quotes to be quite big and make a statement, make an impression. So that's why I'm going to stamp only the top part that says Paint Your, and for the word Dreams, I'm going to use die cut alphabets instead. So I stamped the sentiment on a scrap piece of paper. I'm using my scissors to cut out the part that I'm going to use. And here is a great find. This is an alphabet die set by Scrapbook.com that I fell in love with lately. Absolutely love the whimsical look and feel of it. It gives you both capital and small letters, and I'm going to use the small ones to die cut the word Dreams. I die cut everything using black cardstock, and I always like to audition the letters on top of my page. You can see here it doesn't fit, so I'm going to drop them a little bit down and make them kind of nested underneath the curve of the paintbrush. I'm going to stick everything down. I'm not going to use a ruler, I will eyeball it, but these are really easy to align. You can also stick the letters up and down, intentionally uneven. That always gives a really fun look. And here is the last letter to complete my word, and I will stick down the little strip of stamped phrase, and as I always do, I'm going to grab a black pen and outline that strip. With my white gel pen, I'm also adding some highlights on the letters. This is going to give them the same look and feel as the rest of the cutouts. And I'm going to use glue and stick it inside my journal. You can definitely create something similar and frame it to decorate your craft room. And in that case, you can go even more dimensional. And let me tilt that around so you can see the dimension that I have, since I didn't add glue all the way to the end of the leaves and the brush. I don't have foam tape, however, they just lift whenever you open to that page. So that was the project for today. I hope that you had fun and that you got inspired. I'm really in love with my paintbrush. I know that I am biased since I designed it, but I hope that you like it too. Just like always, links to everything I used can be found down below in the description. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you all next time.